up, game players? Get ready because tonight is on fire. We have an amazing interview. Tonight, we have a true game changer joining us. He is an amazing real estate attorney and entrepreneur from South Carolina, but he has a network all across the US, and he can help you solve he can help you solve issues in the real estate industry that are a huge problem right now. So let's welcome Gary Pickren from South Carolina.
Hey, America, how's it going?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Awesome. I can't believe I get to do these live events with you. You're like one of my favorite people in the entire world. You're such an entrepreneur, just kicking butt, making name for yourself. And it's been fun watching you do it. So I'm excited to actually be on a live podcast with you. It's great.
I really appreciate that. Gary, you know that for me personally, transitioning from selling real estate into being a full-time real estate investor, having your help and learning creative ways to do real estate using private money, hard money loans, institutional funding, and just learning all these additional skills and doing different or outside of the traditional transactions really allowed me to skyrocket my career and shift it like 360, right? You've seen it.
Absolutely.
And I just want to emphasize that because a lot of that was with your help and with the help of Blair Cato. So I want to thank you.
Thank you. That's really nice of you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. So, Gary, right now we have an issue for investors. Okay. And in my opinion, I know you said one thing, but in my opinion, it's way more than just wholesaling and having problems with novations. Can you explain what the real estate industry is facing at this very moment?
Yeah, the problem we are seeing all across the country is it's under attack. And a lot of it may be self-imposed, that we've created some of these issues on ourselves. But a lot of it is that you have an industry of real estate agents that just feel like they're being cut out of the system. And so when you have a powerful lobby group, and I love my real estate agents, I love working with them. We work with them every day. In fact, we're talking to real estate agents about becoming more entrepreneurial, trying to come up with another stream of income and not relying just on real estate commissions. You can make on just one deal what it might take you to make in 10 or 15 commissions. So being part of the investment community is very important for real estate agents. But at the same time, the way that wholesaling and a lot of investment strategies have been pitched, it is a way around the real estate agent community. And so what we're seeing is a lot of real estate agents getting upset about it and coming to the real estate regulators, going to the real estate commissions and filing complaints and saying, this seems like the person who's the investor is trying to do what I'm doing and they don't have a license. So that's one of the big first issues we have. And then the second big issue that I see we have is this issue of transparency. Some of the systems out there are not very transparent. As I mentioned to you before when we talked, is it any type of investing system that begins with you telling the lawyer, don't let the other side know what I'm doing, usually is a bad system. That's usually a system that's going to result in people wanting to file complaints, wanting to file lawsuits against you. And I sit on the Real Estate Commission in the state of South Carolina, and a lot of the issues that brought up wholesaling and novations and all the other stuff came exactly from that. Somebody would come and say, I sold my house to this person, but the next thing I know, this person's involved, and the person I thought I was selling it to made $50,000, and I didn't know about it until my cousin pulled the deeds. And that's where a lot of it happens. Family members, friends find out what happens, and they go back and start talking trash to the person going, you got taken advantage of, you got screwed over, you need to stand up. And so that's where they start attacking. So it feels like this whole industry is under attack, though it shouldn't be.
And that became an issue even with double closings, right?
Absolutely. Now, the traditional way of doing double closings back in the 1990s was the flip. And that was where party A would enter a contract with party B, and then they would be party B, and then B would then sell it to C. But they would do the sale first and fund the purchase with the sale. So think about if I had a Corvette or you had a Corvette. I know America has a Corvette. I know she wants to sell it. I've got a friend, Heather, who I know is looking for a Corvette. So I go to Heather and say, give me $100,000. And then I go to America and say, sell me your Corvette. So I'm using the money from the sale for the purchase. And unfortunately, under federal law, that's illegal. So that came under attack. So it makes it very difficult. So they do have some double closings where you actually do buy it, fund it, close it, then sell it, which is fine legally, but probably not fine financially. I don't know how many people have hundreds of thousands of dollars just laying around ready to invest in a real estate transaction.
Give me one
There are ways of
second.
doing it.
Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt, but right now the system is telling me, and this never happened before, but it's telling me that we have way too many people trying to be
Awesome.
in our live stream, in Restream, and they're having issues entering because we went past the limit. So if you're trying to watch the live stream right now, go to my Facebook profile. It's on there. This is live streaming also on my Facebook. And also, if you want to engage, if you want to be part of it, you can also leave a comment on any of the platforms where you have access to this live stream right now. And we're going to be able to look at your comments, which I highly encourage you to make a comment. Ask questions. You have an amazing opportunity to get as much information as you can from Gary. He is an attorney. He has many years of experience, and I worked with him for 8 years. I can tell you he is the best attorney that I know, and he really has gone way above and beyond to create solutions. See, a lot of attorneys, and I'm not bashing anybody, but a lot of attorneys just do their job. Okay, he has created a new program to solve a problem. So this is a guy that is going above and beyond. Ask as many questions as you like.
And I pay America a lot of money for all these free plugs.
So continue. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Oh no, so that's what we're looking at in this area of real estate, is that it is an exciting, wonderful thing to do. If you look at all of the big money makers in the world,
yeah,
they make money in real estate. It still is the greatest place to make money. And I was talking to a lawyer out in California who is one of the biggest personal injury lawyers in the entire country. And we were talking personal injury lawyers, and we were talking about making money. And he says, you know, when interest rates are 7 or 8%, people complain. He goes, but you're still making money left and right, because property values always go up. That's the one thing they don't make more of, is real estate. So there's a lot of money, there's a lot of excitement still to be made. We just got to make sure we're not doing it in ways that allow us to be attacked.
Right. You know what I learned when I was shifting? I paid attention to the game, and that's why I call my company Game Players, because playing Monopoly and studying Monopoly, going back to history. Let me tell you a quick short story. So going back in history, Lisa McGee is the original creator of the Monopoly game. She created and patented the game back in 1904. And her actual idea, her purpose of creating this game, was to teach and expose the corruption behind the monopolies that took the economy to the Great Depression, right? So she created this game to expose reality, but nobody saw it. But if you pay attention to the game, if you read the instructions, the goal of the game, the way you win in the game, is by making all of your friends, all of the opponents, go bankrupt, right? By implementing monopolies. And there's one rule that I will never forget. The rule is the bank never loses. Right? And so I started paying attention to how the super wealthy make their game moves, and it's completely different from what we learn in school, from what we are taught in the traditional ways. And that's when I realized that Donald Trump, Grant Cardone, all these big figures do one thing in common. They raise capital. They do a lot of creative transactions, a lot of them, even at the commercial level. Actually, I've seen more creative real estate transactions and creative solutions done in the commercial field than in residential, by the way. But I realized that they don't play by the same rules. And I made a lot of money wholesaling, way more than I did in real estate as a real estate sales agent. I actually was the number one last year for the entire region as a sales agent. I'm no longer licensed, but when I was number one. And what most people don't know, and a lot of people were asking me, do you have this huge developer? Who are you working for? How do you become number one? I was my own best client. I turned myself into my best own client by using private money and using creative strategies. So with that being said, I just wanted to add on your comment about watching how the super wealthy make their moves. That was it. My 2 cents.
That's absolutely right. Because it's always follow the money. Where the money's at, that's where money's being made.
Yeah.
Being made in real estate, even in this market.
Yeah. Could you share a story or experience that personally inspire you to develop the installment method?
Well, I've represented real estate agents my whole life. I have represented every single real estate agency you can think of pretty much in South Carolina, whether it's a Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Russell Jeffcoat before it was sold. And I just really developed a passion for helping real estate agents. And it's one of the things that I really just based my whole career on, is how I can give back more to the real estate agents. Is it, providing education, providing resources, and just watching when people come to you and say, and this is how really the installment method, which we'll talk about later, was founded. I had recognized this problem at the Real Estate Commission, met with 4 of my absolute best clients and people that have actually become some of my absolute best friends. And we were sitting around in our room, conference room, talking, and we were basically lamenting, saying, well, this is the end of it. I guess the wholesaling's pretty much done. And then one of them threw out the word installment contract on a deal that we were trying to save, and the light bulb just went off. And talk about something inspiring or something that just motivates you. We literally sat in that conference room for the next 3 hours, just basically playing devil's advocate to each other. Okay, well, this won't work because of this. No, that does. Well, this is a problem. No, this will work. And it's just the excitement of coming up with the plan. Alex was the one who actually came up with the plan. It came up with the word, and we started talking about it. It was so exciting and so motivating. And then when we started talking to people like yourself and Matt Cavanaugh and some of the big wholesalers, Andrew Lucas, and they were saying, Gary, this is what this industry needs, and it needs it now. That was what it was for me. And it's been that way. I've been doing this for 28 years, and there's been other times in my career of helping people like that. But just watching an idea blossom from basically a conversation amongst friends and clients talking about what are we going to do, to all of a sudden, I think we've come up with something that really can help the investor and fill that void that's now being created by all the rules and regulations.
Yeah. You were telling me a little bit ago about something that one of my mentors, Pace, recently posted. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So, the thing when we start talking about our project or what we're going with over today is that there are 2 things that we have to go over. One is, why do you even need a new platform? Why do we even need a new system? And I think the answer to that is, unfortunately, what we're finding out is that wholesaling as well as novations are under attack. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And so that's the first kind of hurdle we have to get over. And then the second hurdle to change this industry, to change the mindset, to change the thought process, is that once we get over the hurdle of people understanding that wholesaling really is under attack, we then have to then talk about what the solution is. So as we started putting this program together and we started talking to some people, there's a lot of people that have their head in the sand about it. They don't want to believe it. When you tell them that wholesaling's under attack, they're like, you need to get off the board. In fact, I think it was Jordan, one of my partners, one day was sending us screenshots where he was in a Facebook group talking about how wholesaling was under attack, how they were issuing cease and desist orders, and people were getting mad at him, telling him to shut up and get off the board and quit being so negative. And so that's a big hurdle to get over, is to convincing people what we know as lawyers and we know as real estate commissioners happening. So today, one of Matt Cavanaugh sent me this email, and it was a post at Pace Morby. And in case you guys don't know who Pace Morby is, When you think of wholesaling, think of like LeBron James in basketball. That's Pace Morby. Pace is kind of the guy that when I first started talking to my wholesaler friends, they kept mentioning the name Pace Morby. I'm like, who is this guy? And I started looking him up. He's kind of like the godfather of wholesaling. He's the main guy. And so this is what he posts today. So I think this is pretty much proves our very first point, because if you're not going to listen to me, then I think Pace has got to listen to. He says, hey, this is a post. I don't want to be an alarmist, but wholesaling regulation is coming, all in capital letters, bold letters. And then he says, damn, already in Arizona, it's a legal requirement to declare in the contract that the buyer intends to wholesale this property. Wholesaling is already illegal in Illinois unless you have a broker's license. I would add it's also illegal in South Carolina. And Ohio and Tennessee are both coming out with legislation that will make wholesaling illegal there too. It's likely that other states will follow. That means the days of simply assigning a deal you have found over to another buyer and you walking away with a nice profit, well, that might be over. Exclamation point. You either have to declare upfront to a seller that you're going to make more money from the sale of their house than they will. Good luck with that. Or you're going to have to get a broker's license to do the deal. That ain't easy either. I tell you, the pass rate in South Carolina for real estate agents is less than 30%, by the way. And then you'd have to get licensed in every single state. And then he adds, or wholesaling might just be not possible in your state, period. That's not good. The easiest way to get started in real estate has just been stolen from the average beginner investor, or has it? Let me explain. And he talks about his Gator Fund financing, which is a neat program, but I think ours is just as good. But that's the point. You have now one of the absolute biggest names in our industry, in our market, saying it's done. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about. If it is done, then what next? Because I will tell you this, and we'll talk about this as well. Whenever there's a disruption in the marketplace, and America is a testament to this, anytime there's a disruption in the marketplace, the people that sit on the sidelines and do nothing about it go by the wayside. The people who run through that void, through that opening, are the ones who get very, very wealthy. And I'll tell you that I've been practicing law in America for 28 years. I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have the internet in the practice of real estate agents. They didn't have internet. And those, when the internet came out, the people who were in the top 10 in the multiple listing services, like, I don't need a website. That's silly. I'm not doing that. That's just a fad. And those top 10 were gone within a year. And so the bottom line is, everybody who continues to fight technology, same thing with social media. You are an absolute goddess when it came to TikTok. I've never seen a real estate agent handle TikTok the way you did. And I remember when social media came out, I'm not doing Facebook. I'm not doing Instagram. I'm not doing TikTok. All the people I'm not are gone. And people like America who said, I'm going to take TikTok and I'm going to own it. I'm going to make people want to watch me on TikTok. How many followers did you have on TikTok? Weren't you averaging like 1 million views a day or something silly?
No, I had 90,000+ followers. And yeah, I would have some videos with 1 million+ views.
I mean, that's absolutely insane. I have one real estate agent that you were on a panel with.
Yeah.
And if you remember, I think Damien had one TikTok post, 1.3 million. And I think he's had like 2.6 million of views of that one post on like 3 places. My point being is, the people who embrace it and say, I'm going to be part of it, are going to be very wealthy. The people who want to fight and say, well, wholesaling is not going away, they're going to go away.
Yeah.
They're going to be regulated right out of the business.
Yep. And I'm already seeing it in different states. You know, I engage with a lot of people from all across the US through my platforms, and we're not seeing it here so much yet, but it's coming, and we know that. We are already seeing wholesalers prepping for plan B and changing because they know it's coming. Their attorneys already told them, hey, we're not going to be able to do the transactions that we typically do for you. I know of other attorneys that were doing some double closings, and they're no longer doing that. And well, yeah, we do see the regulations coming. So,
and let me stop 1 second there. You've got to be very, very careful where you're taking your advice from.
Yeah.
Okay? The people that pitch wholesaling today, a lot of them look like they just came out of a motorcycle game. They have no legal background. They have no educational background. They have no financial background. They have absolutely no real estate background. And they sit there all day long and tell you, oh, this is legal. There's no problem with doing this. I talked to somebody other day who said you could do it. So your first thing you got to be concerned about is where you're getting your advice. Are you getting your advice from people who actually know what they're talking about? And then secondly, just because the person has lawyer written behind their name doesn't necessarily mean they know a damn thing about what they're talking about. And so you've got to make sure that your lawyer, if you're talking to a lawyer, you're talking to somebody who understands what's going on. Are they in tune with what's going on at the real estate commissions? Because this is all going away because of real estate commissions, real estate regulators, and state legislatures. It's not going away because of lawyers. So a lot of lawyers will sit here and go, oh, that's perfectly legal. You can do this all day long. And they don't have a clue that at the same time they're saying it's illegal, the real estate commission in your state has already declared it illegal. So you've got to be careful where you're getting your information.
Also, just for the audience out there that may come across something like this, because I've seen it, a lot of people sadly pretend to be attorneys or let other people think that they are without correcting them. Okay. I've seen it happen. Always go to the bar, check the directory, and make sure you're actually working with a real estate attorney. Just wanted to throw that out there because a lot of people go to sometimes a title company or just a notary public somewhere that has a sign and nice looking office, and they think that's a closing attorney, and it turns out that they're not, and they didn't even do title search and whatnot. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It happens.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
So Gary, you're pretty awesome.
Thank you.
And you work with so many real estate professionals, agents, investors, wholesalers. What is the major setback and challenge that you are seeing in today's market?
In the wholesaling market or in the real estate market in general?
In the real estate market.
In the real estate market, there's two things that are holding us back. One is inventory, complete and absolute lack of inventory. Yeah. Don't know when that will get corrected. And what I mean by lack of inventory, there's a lot less houses for sale than needs to be. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but at one point we had gotten down to, if another house had not gone on the market at all and the transactions continued to go, we would be out of houses in like less than a month. In some particular markets and price ranges, we would be out of houses in like 2 to 3 weeks, meaning that there would be nothing else left to buy or sell. So we have a tremendous problem right now with inventory. Hopefully it will get better. Builders are starting to try to build a little bit more, so that's good. Part of it is that real estate agents need to continue to understand how to talk to sellers to convince them to list properties. The installment method actually is something that would actually help on that. And then the second issue with us in real estate right now is the uncertainty of interest rates. Now, I've been doing this since 1995. The first closing I ever did, the interest rates were 9.5%. And when we got under 8%, we were like, this is free money. We can't believe how cheap the money is. Now, as we sit at 7%, everybody's like, the sky is falling. The problem is we got this artificially low interest rates due to COVID. I mean, no time in our life did we ever think they would have an interest rate less than 3%. So we got conditioned to getting something that we probably never were going to get in the first place. So as we start re-educating ourselves and re-understanding that what an interest rate means and what it truly means to us, America, you and I talked about this the other day. It's interesting, the difference between buying a house and a car. When you buy a car, people always ask, what's my car payment? With a house, what's my interest rate? Really, the question you should be asking on the house is, what's my monthly payment going to be? Because that's going to be your most expensive bill. And so we need to understand that. We need to understand that most people don't live in the same house more than about 5 to 7 years. So the difference you're paying in the interest rate over 5 or 7 years really is not overly burdensome. So those are our two biggest issues. A lot of it, I think, can be resolved by some good education by agents to the consumers. That's
awesome. We have a question here. They're asking, what steps can we take prior to do an offer to protect our money with a not so good wholesaler?
We're going to talk about that. We're not going to do wholesaling anymore.
Yeah.
because that's been the biggest problem that we see, is that you have some very good wholesalers out there that really do things the right way. They talk to the consumer. The seller understands what's going on. And see, this is the thing that I think a lot of regulators don't understand, that I do understand, is that not all wholesaling is bad. There's certain regulators out there who think it is. They think the whole system's horrible. And I said, well, how about that seller who wants to sell the property quickly? They don't want to have people come through their house. They want to make this as easy as possible. And so there is a role for this wholesaler. Perhaps the property needs yard work. It needs some curb appeal. It needs painting. It needs some things done in the house that they simply can't afford. This is a great place for a wholesaler to come in and maybe do a quick transaction and make some money. So not every wholesaler is bad. And so we have to understand that. But unfortunately, there are a lot of bad people, not wholesalers, but bad people that do things short. They cut corners. They do things unethical. They hide things. And that kind of brings the problem for all of us. And that's where I think a lot of this comes down, is that the regulators, the wholesalers hear the horror stories. And so they want to know, how do we stop it?
Yeah, most wholesalers actually sell distressed properties that, in my opinion, most agents don't even want to list.
Right.
It's the truth. I've seen it happen. I've seen agents reject a listing, including myself. I discovered wholesaling by accident because I had some listings back then that I didn't want to put on the market because I was listing nice, pretty looking houses. And those distressed properties, I didn't like it for my branding personally. And I had built a huge database of investors. And my investors told me, I'll pay you a wholesale fee, a finder's fee, if you just help me find off the market properties. And I had a big developer that had me do that for a while. And that's how I discovered wholesaling a few years back. So I can tell you from an experience, a lot of agents do not even want to take those listings.
Right. And that's where there's a place. We just got to find the best platform for those investors to make it legal, ethical, proper, so people can make money, feel good about it.
I completely agree. So can you tell us a little bit more about the program?
Yep. All right. So here we go. I appreciate more than anything, America, you having us on here, because we want the installment method to be a movement. And when you and I have talked about this, you want to be part of the movement. You are an entrepreneur, a forward thinker, very progressive person who is always looking for what is that next best thing. It's something that's going to take a problem, resolve the problem, and make it better. So I'm here today because I need everybody who's watching and listening. I need their help because we need to get the word out. If you'll think about this, the word novation, nobody even heard of the word novation 6 months ago. Alex and Jordan and Matt and the guys brought that to me. And I was like, what in the world's a novation? I've been practicing law 28 years. I never heard of this thing. And now you cannot talk to a wholesaler without them start talking about novations. So together we can push this movement out there. We can get people doing it the correct and right way. Now, the good news for everybody that's listening who does get involved in the installment method is that there's going to be a lot of wholesalers out there who just are not going to listen to anything we have to say. They're going to put their heads in the sand. They're going to fight us all the way and say, no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not illegal. You don't know what you're talking about. And they will keep pushing forward until they get that cease and desist order. And those people that for you are actually going to be good because those people will be gone. They'll be out of the business and less people will be there. It's sort of like the real estate correction we're in right now. Less real estate agents, less real estate lawyers, less mortgage companies means that the people who know what they're doing, who act proper, who do it professionally, we get larger shares of the business. So if any of you guys are wholesalers, moving over now to a system before your system is pulled out from under you allows you to do it on your time frame, get everything in order to where you need to be. So let's talk about why we're here today. So 28 years I've been doing this. I have represented real estate agents. I've represented real estate companies. I've appeared before the Real Estate Commission, defending businesses, defending builders, defending real estate agents against what I believe was a lot of government overreach. I was not very happy with what was going on in terms of the Real Estate Commission. Well, they got tired of me showing up defending agents, so they asked me to become one of them. So I joined the Real Estate Commission with the belief that I was going to go in there, shake things up, and start making things better for not only the public, but for the real estate agent, the real estate investor. What I quickly realized in getting involved in the real estate commission was that it doesn't take long for something that's perfectly legal to be basically illegal. And it didn't take long to realize that most real estate commissioners across the country, not just in South Carolina, absolutely hate wholesaling. They hate it with a burning passion. And I watched in South Carolina 2 hearings come forward in about a 6-week period, which took wholesaling from being perfectly fine and legal in South Carolina to basically shutting it down. What were those 2 rulings? The first ruling we had was we had a real estate agent come in who was listing property for a wholesaler. And they ruled against the real estate agent. But I'm going to talk about the second case more importantly. The second case was a wholesaler was brought in before the commission, and he had wholesaled a property. The seller sat there and testified. She had absolutely no idea what was going on. She thought she was selling it to this wholesaler. She had no idea the guy was flipping the property to somebody else and making lots of money. She goes, I should have made that money, not him. What the real estate commission ruled in South Carolina was, in order to market or sell property that you do not own, you have to have a real estate license. So what was marketing and advertising? Marketing and advertising means going on Craigslist and posting the property. It means texting real estate agents. Do you have somebody buying that's interested in buying? It means sending out email blasts, sending out text blasts. It means going in a private Facebook group and posting. It means going on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, talking about the house. It means literally going to a bar with 5 investor friends and have regular meetings, doing something like we're doing right here and pitching properties to each other. That, according to the Real Estate Commission and the real estate law, which is South Carolina 40-57, that is marketing and selling property, advertising property. And in order to do that, you have to have a real estate license. So once that order was issued, anytime now somebody gets turned in for wholesaling, immediately, it's not even a hearing anymore. They get this administrative act. The administrative clerk for us sends out immediately a cease and desist order to every single person unless they can prove they're not wholesaling. So that's the first big problem. Now, the biggest part of that problem is who's turning these people in. I know 3 real estate agents who say they make it their life's work to turn in every single wholesaler. And in fact, one of them just this week emailed me 3 letters she had gotten back from the Real Estate Commission where she had sent the letters saying, these people are wholesalers, stop them. She got back letters saying, thank you, we've issued a cease and desist order. All right. Wow. So that's the first one right there. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you're a wholesaler, you can't market or advertise property. So people then said, well, I'll get around this. I'll just hire a real estate agent, right? That's the easy thing. If I got to have a license, I'll hire a real estate agent. So then what happened was the Real Estate Commission had a hearing and a real estate agent was on trial. And the commission said, you cannot market and advertise property for a wholesaler because they aren't the owner of the property. You have to go to the actual owner of the property and get the owner's sign. And the real estate agent said a couple things in the hearing. Number one, they said, well, how can I get the owner to sign the listing agreement? I'm already under contract to buy it, or they're already under contract to buy it. The seller's not going to sign a listing agreement when you're already under contract. That creates 2 contracts. That's dual contracts. That's illegal. Absolutely. So that doesn't work. And so then they said, well, I know the answer. I have an equitable interest. The seller, the wholesaler themselves has an equitable interest in the property, so they can sell because they have an equitable interest. Well, that's not true. That's a bad argument that any lawyer who actually knows real estate will tell you it's a bad argument. Now, why is it a bad argument? In order for you to have an equitable, let's say you did have an equitable interest in the property because you have a contract. Every time your contract fell through, the equitable interest would still exist, would it not? It would still be there. So the only way you can get rid of the equitable interest would be foreclosure or a quitclaim deed. So how many of y'all as wholesalers have had a deal fall through and then turn around and given a quitclaim deed or a foreclosure action to get rid of the equitable interest you claim? So that doesn't work either. So what we have basically seen in South Carolina in 2 rulings in 6 weeks is that wholesaling was done. That was it. You can't market, you can't advertise, you can't really hire a real estate agent because they can't do it, market and advertise for you without getting the seller to actually sign the agreement. Not going to happen. So that was the beginning of the end of wholesaling legally in South Carolina. They started issuing cease and desist orders. I had to recuse myself because once I figured out the installment method, I had to get out of that. I can't be involved in those hearings anymore. But at the same time, we saw Tennessee just passed a law. Arizona's just passed a law. Illinois just passed a law saying that if you wholesale, they will fine you. I think it's $20,000 for every time you do an assignment type transaction. I'll miss the state, but it's New Hampshire or Vermont actually makes it a criminal misdemeanor.
Wow.
So America, as we sit here today, we know it's under attack. I go to a real estate meeting of commissioners. It's called a RILO. It's every commissioner in Canada and in the United States. They talk about two problems every time they get together: brokers not supervising agents and wholesaling. I will be going to Montreal in September for my next RILO meeting. I guarantee you the number one topic they will be talking about will be wholesaling. So when I do that, I will get some videos, I'll get some emails, I'll get some statements, and I'll post those. But just as Pace Morby, just as I just read you, has said, it's done. We're done, okay? So I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly, by the way. I'm here for you. I want this to work. But what I have decided and what we have figured out, and America will agree with this, is that anytime you have a massive disruption in real estate, there is now this opening for somebody to run through and to fill that opening. And that's where the installment method is going to come in for all of us today, because the program is opened up now for all of us to run through with it. The people who get involved first, spread the word, will be the ones who are going to win all of the deals, because the wholesalers aren't going to be able to do any more what they're doing. So with that being said, if you want me to now, I can kind of talk a little bit through the installment method if you're ready for me to do that.
I am ready. I'm going to let you take over completely. Before I do that, just for the record, I was not the one turning wholesalers in. I actually love my wholesaler peeps, and I am no longer an agent.
Yes, and I don't turn agents in either. I defend agents. So let's be clear on that as well. So,
awesome.
As I said, after that hearing, I went and I talked with my guys, and I was like, we're not going to be able to wholesale anymore in South Carolina. I'm not sure how we're going to make this work. Alex said, well, I got a deal. We got to keep together here. Let's talk about it. Is there a way I can do an installment contract on this one? And the light bulb went off on all four of us. We were sitting there going, holy crap, I think this might just very well be the answer. Is that the answer to wholesaling? Let's look at it. Can we make this work? Well, we know right off the bat, the problem with wholesaling is marketing and advertising property that you don't own. We know that hiring a real estate agent's not going to work for you because they can't have multiple contracts. That's called dual contracts. That's going to be an issue. We then hear people say, well, I'm just going to get a power of attorney from the seller that authorizes me to sell the property for them. Okay, well, that, if you talk to any litigation lawyer, any plaintiff's lawyer, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And I'll explain why. When you act as a power of attorney for somebody, you are doing it for that person's benefit, not your benefit. So if the seller gives you power of attorney and you take that power of attorney to list their property so that you can make more money, how are you doing that for their benefit? You're doing that 100% for your benefit. That's called self-dealing. Self-dealing always results in a lawsuit. Now, I don't know about y'all. I don't trust plaintiff lawyers. I don't like lawyers. I'm a lawyer. I don't even like lawyers. But trusting a lawyer not to sue you, to agree with you that you got the right to do a power of attorney, is just, to me, absolutely insane. So when you look at all of the arguments that people talk about, it just doesn't work. So when we started putting this together, we kind of went back in time and started looking at all the different ways that these transactions were working. And as I mentioned earlier, back in the 90s, everybody was doing flips. They were using the money for the sell for the buy. And we found out that was illegal. In fact, I had 2 clients who went to federal prison for doing it. So when people try to tell me, oh, no, you can do reverse financing all day long, or you can do the double dry closing, you absolutely cannot, because I got 2 clients that will be absolutely happy to tell you that they went to prison over it. So don't tell me you can do it, because I don't know any of y'all. I don't want to go to prison. So then after that went away, we started looking at wholesaling. And wholesaling was really the way to go for many years, and it was working fine. But when you start seeing novation and other workarounds come up, what does that tell you? It tells me that everybody recognizes and everybody realizes that it's just not going to stay. The end's near. The whole purpose of novation was to try to work around the issues that were created in wholesaling. If you had never told me the word novation came about and everybody's still wholesaling, then that would tell me that the marketplace itself still believes in wholesaling. The fact that wholesaling is kind of taking really kind of a back seat now to novations is telling me that people are recognizing that there are issues with wholesaling, that maybe we need to start looking at a different system because the end is near. And that's, I think, unfortunately, the truth. So let's talk. So we moved away from wholesaling and we moved to novation. So the question became did novations answer the problem with wholesaling? Well, no. The issue with wholesaling, when you look at the real estate commission level, is that you're marketing property you don't own, and your advertising property you don't own. Well, how does that change with novations? It doesn't. It's the same thing. The only thing novations does, wholesaling is I'm B and I'm under contract with A, and I'm going to try to find C that I can assign it to. So I'm going to assign my contract from A to B to A to C. Well, with novations, it's the same thing, A to B, and then B goes out and finds C, but B pulls themselves out of the transaction and just does a novation, fancy word for contract amendment, and change the name of the buyer and change the contract amount. So it solved one issue. What issue did it solve? The issue it solved was when I am under contract to buy America's house for 100, and then I go to Alex and he wants to buy it for 150. If I am doing a wholesale deal, I'm assigning the $100,000 contract. He's got to give me $50K as my assignment fee. He didn't have the cash unless he's an investor. So all I can do is flip it to another investor. I'm not getting good prices for it. However, with novations, what I could do is I could pull my name out of the contract, change the contract amount, and now he could pay the $150,000. He could borrow money at $150,000. The problem is I'm still marketing property I don't own. I'm still marketing property and advertising property I don't own. The second problem it created is, how do I get paid? Because now I'm out of the contract and now Alex is in the contract. The contract went from 100 to 150, but all I did was make $50,000 more for the seller. How do I get my 50 grand? Oh, that's right. They're going to put a payment to me from the seller of $50,000. Well, you know what that looks like? Certainly looks like a real estate commission to me. So real estate commissions are now going, wait a minute, this novation fee, this assignment fee is nothing more than a real estate commission. And so here's your cease and desist order. So now what we're looking at is that we're seeing that novations aren't going to cover the issues we need, and neither will wholesaling. So what is? So what's going to fix it in our opinion? And we know this works because we've been trying it. People like Matt Kavanaugh, people like Matthew Lucas, people like Devin Robinson, people in the wholesale business have been trying this, and it works. So what is an installment method? The installment method is using an installment contract, also known as a bond for title, a contract for deed, a lease to own, whatever you want to call it in your jurisdiction. It's using that document as the basis of our platform. Now, why does this work? Well, I've been practicing law 28 years. We have been doing bond for titles, installment contracts, land contracts, whatever you want to call them, for my entire 28 years of practice. Now, when we first started using them, we weren't using them for investments. Basically, they were used in two situations. The first one was the buyer had bad credit or couldn't prove income. So you had a brand new real estate agent who might have made $100,000 this year, but hasn't filed their first tax return, and they can't prove their income of 100 grand. So when they go to the bank says, well, your last job says you made 40. You say you make 100. We don't have a tax return to prove it, so we can't give you the loan. So that person was using the installment contract or bond for title. The second one was where we had houses that just couldn't sell. You had a buyer market, houses out there that nobody wanted. And so somebody would come along with some bad credit and go, well, I'll at least, do a bond for title with you. And so the sellers would jump on that. Sounds kind of familiar, right? That's kind of what wholesaling is about, is finding properties that people don't want, taking them, fixing them up, and selling them. So it's the same concept. Now, with the installment contracts back 20-something years ago, we were doing them for a year or 2 years, 18 months, whatever it took for that buyer to repair their credit and for that buyer to get in a position to buy the house. And they worked fantastically. And what an installment contract would basically say is, I, the buyer, want to buy your house. I can't pay for it right now. So what I'm going to do is give you a down payment. I'm going to give you $1,000. Sometimes we have people putting down $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, depending on the dollar amount of the house. And I am going to make payments to you for 12 months or 18 months. And at the end of that 12 or 18 months, I'll pay you the balance in full. Now, during that time, I'm going to live in the house. I'm going to own the house, possess the house. In fact, the county tax assessors will recognize me as primary residence and give me the better tax rate. And that's how we're going to do it. And courts all across the United States say that the person doing this does create an ownership interest in the house. So if America is selling me her house under an installment contract and I pay her $1,000 down and I'm making payments to her every month, and at the end of the certain time, I pay her the rest off, courts across this country have said you have what's called a true equitable ownership interest, meaning I am now an actual owner. I qualify for the better owner tax rate. I can refinance my house if I live there for, I think the federal regulations now about 12 months. I can actually do a refinance and pay her off. I can even sell the property to somebody else. If I live there 12 months and I don't want to pay her off, I can go sell it to somebody else. And there are federal guidelines under Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, conventional loans, all have guidelines on this. So when you look at that transaction and you're like, wow, this is incredible. This is an incredible opportunity. But now how can we make this work for wholesalers? It works for wholesalers because it's the same thing, but better. Why is it better? Wholesaling is always done from the vantage point of the seller, of the wholesaler. Everything a wholesaler does, he's got to think to himself, how is this going to work for me? How can I get this property under contract? How much time do I need to offload it? How much am I going to be able to sell it for? Who can I even get to buy this in this entirely tiny little bit of time I have, right? So we're really thinking of ourselves. And in most cases, we're selling property. We're buying it as cheap as we can. And then we're turning around and selling it to another wholesaler, another investor who also wants to make money. So the only way it works for us is to push that seller, push, and get him down as low as possible. Not so with the installment contract, because now I can go to a seller and actually look at a seller and say, here's what I'm going to do. What are your pressure points? How can I help you? And at the end of the day, I'm not selling my property to another investor who's also going to make money, because I have this true legal equitable ownership interest. Guess where I'm selling the property? I'm putting it on the multiple listing service with the best real estate agents in town who are going to get me top dollar, because courts recognize I have an equitable title interest. They even recognize it in foreclosure courts and bankruptcy courts. So I know I have the right to sell the property. I know I can sell the property on retail value and make more money. So right now, if I'm having to compete against other wholesalers, I have a very limited window I can move, because I know I got to sell it to another wholesaler or another investor. But if I know at the end of the day, I'm not selling my property to another wholesaler, another investor who's got to make money, I'm going to send it to the end user. No inventory. Remember, I told you at the very beginning, our biggest problem is no inventory. So everybody wants to buy the house. I take this house and I'm selling it to an end user who will pay me money at retail value. In some cases, might even pay me above, right? So I'm going to make more money than any other wholesaler possibly can make on this transaction. So if I know I can make $40,000 on this deal, where a wholesaler's best chance is to make 20, can I not now go back to the seller and outbid every single wholesaler and win all the bids? It makes absolute sense. I'm going to make absolute more money doing this. But the difference here too is I still got to get the seller convinced, right? Because I'm not paying the seller all at one time. But let's face it, a wholesaler's not either. Wholesaler's going to sign a contract for 30 days and ask for an extension, ask for another extension, and another extension until they can get the property sold, or until the seller gets so pissed off that they just cancel the whole transaction. But now I'm going to my seller and I'm having a really good conversation. Seller, tell me what's going on in your life that makes you want to sell this house. Well, I got no money. I got a car out in the yard that won't run. I need $1,000 to fix it. I would love to sell the house. I got nowhere to go. I want to move to Greenville from Columbia, but I don't have an apartment. They told me it's a 30-day waiting list, or I can't find a house. There's no houses for me to find in Greenville. It's going to take me, the agent, America, is telling me it's going to take me 60 days to find a house. So I can't do this. And, you know, I just need a little breathing room. I need a little couple dollars in my pocket. So, okay, how about I do this? I'll give you $1,000 down payment, not earnest money that you'll never see. It's going to go to some law firm who will hold it and give it back to me when I default on the contract. But I'm going to give you down payment money. You're going to put this money in your pocket and you're going to use it today for whatever the heck you want to use it for. Fix your car. Now, I'm going to let you stay in the house for 90 days. But during that 90 days, here's the key. I'm not going to pay you the final amount until that 90-day period's over because I got to get all my financing together. During that 90 days, I'm going to clean the yard, cut the grass, put some bushes in, put some pine straw in. I'm going to really make the front of this house look like $1 million. I might paint the house, paint the shutters, and then I'm going to come in the house. We're going to fix that bathroom that you told me is leaking. We're going to fix that sink. We're going to replace the bathroom toilet. We're going to do these little repairs during that day. We'll be respectful to you. We're going to make sure that you have notice and give you time. And at the end of the 90 days, I'm going to pay you in full. And you can get the $1,000, live for free 90 days. And guess what? I'm going to throw a pod in the front yard. So you go ahead and start moving everything you want in this pod. So now I got a couple $1,000 invested in it. Not much, but at the end of the day, I'm going to sell this property retail and I'm going to get $40,000. What's the wholesaler going to do? Get them under contract, low as they possibly can, not give them any money down payment, not cover any of their closing costs, not cover their moving costs, not give them somewhere to live for 90 days. So I'm beating them all day long. I'm going to beat them out. I got a happy seller. How many wholesalers have happy sellers? The ones that know what they're doing, not too many. This is the exact deal that my guys just put together with a beautiful young lady who's gotten some financial issues, and that's her deal. She had a car that wouldn't run. In fact, we had to get an Uber for her to get to closing. So she comes to closing. She got $1,000 down payment. The down payment, which created the equitable interest. And that's the key here is we create the equitable interest by giving the down payment. She put that money in her car, got her car running. The guys let her live in the house for 90 days while they did all the work on the house, put a pod in her yard for her to load her. Couldn't have been happier. Took pictures with her, told her these guys were a godsend. They answered her blessing. And she said, every other wholesaler was trying to squeeze me. You're the only ones who listened to me. And I think it was Alex who said this, or no, it was Matt. Matt said, this feels really good. He goes, this is a really rewarding way of doing business because I actually could listen to the seller, find out what they needed and help them instead of trying to hide things from them. So they said it absolutely worked perfect. So how did the transaction work? So the transaction works like this. They go and talk to the seller and have the conversation we talked about. What do you need? What are some of the things? Now, there's a couple of strategies involved in this, and you'll learn these in our program. You don't always have to put a lot of money in it. You don't have to give them 90 days. You don't have to make monthly payments, but you can give them a down payment of whatever's necessary to get them to move. Now, remember, you get credit for anything you put down. So if I give them $5,000 down payment, that goes off of what I owe them. So if I buy it for 100, now I only owe them 95. It's like seller financing. So I'm in a really, really good position with these guys. So I can give them money. Now I got to make sure that I don't give them more money than they have equity. Because if I give them 5 and they owe 100 and I'm giving them 100, if I give them 5, they're going to be 5 short at closing. So I got to run some numbers to make sure numbers work. And we give you all this information in the class of how to do it. But so we have the conversation. We find out what's going to work. It may be the down payment. If the deal's good, look, if you think you're going to make $70,000 or $80,000 on it and you got a little money in your pocket, make the person's monthly mortgage payment for them. What's $1,200 a month for 3 months if at the end of the day I'm going to make 75 or 100 grand? Yeah, I might have an outlay of $5,000 or $6,000 over the beginning of it. Now, that's not going to work for somebody who's just entering wholesaling, but somebody who's been wholesaling and making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 every transaction, you should have put back $5,000 or $10,000 to do deals. Do that in one of these deals and really make some money. You want to get a property under a great price from somebody? Offer to let them live for 90 days in a house for free and make their mortgage payment while you're doing it. Now, you can get credit for the equity on that mortgage payment. And so we can put all these together. So you're doing this, you're making this conversation, you're getting this under contract. In the program, we have the contract for you. We actually have a contract that talks about what you need to have. It's a form ready to go. You get them to sign the contract. We're ready to go. Now, at that point, what we're recommending we do is a title search for you to make sure the person owns the property. We just had one today or this week where the person who signed the contract was actually a girlfriend of the actual owner, and the owner's actually in federal prison. So we had to work through that mess. We got power of attorney for them, but that's why you do a title search to make sure the person signing can actually sign. And the second thing we do is make sure that we understand what they got to pay off. If they're telling you they have one mortgage and it's 100 grand, but we do a title search and they have 2 mortgages at 120 grand and they have an HOA lien and they have a federal tax lien and they owe 200 grand on the property total, then you can't buy it from 100 grand because they're $100,000 short. So once we figure all this out, and depending on what state you're in Florida, California, those things can be done in a matter of a day. States like South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, a little bit longer because you actually have to do a full title search. Once you get that done and everybody and you, the investor, are satisfied that they own the property, that there's not any money out there that's going to scare you away, then you go ahead at that time and we do the actual the first closing. That's where we're going to sign the installment agreement. It's about a 7-page document. It's already been created. It's been put in our library of documents for you. And what you're going to do then is you and the seller will sign the document. And at that time, you're going to give them their down payment that they put in their pocket. They're not getting that as earnest money. That's their money. They have it. At that point, we absolutely record the document at the courthouse. By recording it at the courthouse, it does a couple things. It creates your equitable ownership, which allows you to market the property. The second thing it does, it protects you because now you're on title. You're in there. So they can't go borrow money from another lender and not tell you because all that shows up in the title search. So you are now protected. 2 reasons we're going to do it that way. Now, once the property is under that installment contract and it's been recorded at the courthouse, you know what we're going to do? We're going to market the hell out of that property. We're going to hire the best real estate agent in the market. We're going to show them what the house looks like now, what improvements we're going to make. They're going to help you price it. You're going to price it, and you're going to get that property on the market and sell it. And you got 90 days to sell it. If you can't sell property in this market in 90 days, then you probably don't need to be in this market. This market's great for you as a seller because there's no inventory. So you're going to clean the property up, whatever you want to do. Sometimes you might not do anything. Maybe the property looks good enough. I don't even have to touch it. I know I can flip this thing and make some money. So the second I get the contract recorded, at that point, my agent's going to go ahead and start marketing and listing the property. That might be what we do. On the other hand, I might do an apartment style makeup. I'm going to go fresh paint, fresh carpet, and we're good to go. Other times, it might be a pretty expensive or pretty extensive renovation. A lot of different ways to go through this. Bottom line is, once we get to the back end of this, we've got our 90 days to sell it. And now I got an end user who comes up with a real estate agent. You got your agent, and they say, we want to buy your property. Here's the beautiful thing about that now. You had A to B when they did the installment contract with you. Now you're in a B to C transaction. The B to C does not involve A at all anymore. You owe A payoff. That's all you owe the seller. You don't owe them anything else but a payoff. So when you sell the property to C, on the settlement statement, it will have the payoff to the original owner of the property, the seller, and it'll be less any mortgage payoffs, tax liens, HOA liens, whatever. So let's say the amount you owe the seller is $95,000. They have an $80,000 mortgage payoff. So on the HUD statement, it'll show $15,000 to the seller, $80,000 to their payoff, to their mortgage. They show up, they get their $15,000 check. They're good to go, which is their motive to come back and sign and be there at the final signing, which they don't attend, but to come pick up their check. And so at the end of the day, you're only dealing with B to C. You're not having to provide a settlement statement to A. You're only dealing with B to C. Here's where I knew we had the right product at this point. I talked to 2 national title insurance companies. And if any of you have ever done real estate transactions, you know title insurance companies are everything. They're the ones who ensure that get good title. Chicago Title, Fidelity Title, both said, we love your program, we back it. So it's 100% backed by 2 national title insurance companies. We then reached out to Guild Mortgage and said, Guild Mortgage, if we do these installment deals, will you provide the mortgage lending on the B to C? Or is this going to be a problem? Are you going to look at that installment contract and go, we don't loan because there was an installment contract? Trey Baker over there said, not only will we 100% do this, there's federal guidelines on it. And we've whipped out federal guidelines. I'm on a national conversation with their underwriter, chief underwriter, going over VA, FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all of their documents. So we know B2C financing is available. So now you've got the backing of a national award-winning lender who's willing to do every B2C transaction. We got backing of 2 national title insurance companies, but we weren't done. I said, all right, this is South Carolina law. Let's go talk to some other people. I get on the phone with Jamie Kaprowski up in North Carolina, one of the best lawyers, Brady Kaprowski. Get on the phone with Philip down in Georgia. Start talking to Philip and saying, hey, can we do this down there? Absolutely, you can do it. Start getting on the phone with people in California, Motherlow. We get on the phone with Meridian Title. Get on the phone with Greater Illinois Title Company. You go up to the New York area, New Jersey area, and get on the phone with Fortune Title. Every single one of them. This is phenomenal. We want to be a part of it. So we have compiled a list of closing attorneys, title companies in your area who are willing, ready, able to close it, who have been vetted, who understand the transaction, who understand the legalities of it, and are ethical and good people, which is what we want to be in business with. So we create all of this for everyone to make this work. So, question I see right here, can we do this as a realtor? Absolutely. The problem with wholesaling as a realtor is you have fiduciary duties to consumers, not to consumers, but to clients and customers. Everybody in the world's a consumer. When you have an interaction with somebody in real estate, they become a customer. When you sign agency, they become a client. Our state laws throughout the country present these fiduciary duties of good faith and fair dealing to both customers and clients. So how do I have a good faith and duty and a duty of fair dealing when I'm wholesaling? Somebody comes to me and goes, I want you to list my property. And you're like, well, sell it to me as a wholesaler for $100,000. Okay. And then I immediately list the property and sell it for $150,000. Does anybody believe that is good faith and fair dealing? Because the seller would have said, why didn't you just tell me to list it for $150,000 myself? I could have done it. Why did you do it that way? That's a whole different ball game than a realtor saying, if you're interested, I'll be happy to list your property, but I would be willing to buy the property under an installment contract. I'm going to give you down payment money out of my pocket, down payment money as equity in the property. I'm going to make monthly payments to you, and I'm going to buy this out. I'm obligated, not under a contract, but under an actual agreement recorded in the courthouse to complete the transaction. So you're actually putting skin in the game in terms of money, and you are 100% obligating yourself to complete this transaction. So I believe a real estate agent can do that. Now, the final difference I will tell you is that the difference between installment, wholesaling, and novations, beside the fact I can legally market property, I can sell it for retail, I don't have to sell it wholesale. I am actually working with the seller involved and seeing what their needs are instead of only what my needs are. With the installment method, there are 7 off-ramps. You heard that right, 7 off-ramps. Not always do I have to sell the property. I'll give you a couple right now. I can renovate the property, maybe keep it I can go and renovate it, and then I can actually keep the property as a rental. If it's that good of a deal, there's ways we can do it as a rental. I can go back to the seller and say, seller, how about if I pay you 8% on your money? How about extend this 90 days to 12 months? I'll go ahead and buy it now in 90 days if you want, but if you'll do me the favor and extend it 12 months, I'm actually going to give you 8, 9, 10% on your money. How's that sound? Well, that sounds great. Now, why would I do that? Because I'm obligated to say, let's say I'm paying monthly payments of $1,000. In South Carolina, if you're paying a monthly payment of $1,000, my bet would be you probably could rent the property for $2,000. So I'm putting out $1,000 and I'm renting it for $2,000. But I'm not even using my money to do it. I'm doing it under an installment contract. I put $1,000 down. I'm renting the property out to somebody for $2,000, of which $1,000 I'm giving to the owner, and I'm putting $1,000 in my pocket by doing a 12-month agreement with them. At the end of the 12 months, heck, they might even go ahead and extend it for another 12 months and we'll keep on doing it. So that's the key. There's an incredible opportunity here. Now, the difference between installment contract and seller financing is that most sellers can't do seller financing. And the reason they can't is that they would have to own the property free and clear, meaning that they would have to have no debt on the property. Because in order to do seller financing, they've got to convey the property over to you, and then you're going to give them a note promising to pay them money back, and you're going to secure that with a mortgage. Well, if they already have a mortgage on their property with Wells Fargo, they can't do that. Won't happen. Because you can't do the transaction free and clear. They can't transfer you good title. So the only time you ever can do true seller financing is when the seller either doesn't owe any money or owes such a little amount that they can pay it off. Well, that's just not going to work. And the reason that doesn't work is because most people that have no debt, what are they going to do? they're just going to sell it themselves. They have no financial need or just to hire to do it through an investor. They can just sell it yourself. Now, somebody asked about the difference between that and Subto. Subto is a fantastic product. It really is. Pace Morby's come up with a great idea. Two problems with Subto. Subto means that you're going to convey your property to me, and I'm going to take it subject to that mortgage that you still owe. Why would a seller do that? And the reason I ask you why a seller would do that is that they have to be completely at the end of their rope, no other options. They're tapped out. They're in foreclosure. They've got no other options here, because what seller is going to convey their property to you on the slim hope that sometime, somewhere in the future, you'll pay off their mortgage? Now, I would never sell you my house Subto and hope that you pay off my mortgage, because if you don't, guess what happens? My credit gets ruined even more, and the mortgage company comes to me, sues me, and they want their money, and they'll sue me for any deficiency judgments, asking me for more money. So you can't always convince a seller to do Subto. So if you're in a situation like that and they're like, well, I don't want to convey title, you're not conveying title to me under an installment contract until I pay you off. When I pay you off, then I get the deed, but not until. And so that's what makes the installment method a little bit better than the Subto. The second problem we have is that the lawyer I'm friends with in Georgia, I was talking to him about Subto, and he's like, I wouldn't touch Subto. And I said, why? He said, I have not verified this, but Philip's a very smart lawyer. He said in Georgia, they had already brought some criminal charges against some investors who did Subto, because they did the Subto, couldn't get deals done, and they just didn't pay off the mortgages. And so the district attorneys came after him, saying that it was fraud, that they had bought these people's property and didn't pay off the mortgage, and it was fraud. So I don't know that to be the case. I haven't independently verified it, but Philip's one of the best lawyers down in Georgia, so I tend to believe what he has to say on that. So good. Subto is a very good program. I would just be a little bit concerned about it in all situations. I think that it's a very good situation, but I just think you need to be very careful. Pace has created a great tool there. It's just installment, I think, is going to give you a little bit more options. So what we're trying to do here is give you as multiple tools that you can use, put in your toolbox, and use them when you need to. The installment method is not going to work if somebody's 2 days away from having their house sold at the foreclosure, because they got to get it reinstated. Now, you could do it. You could reinstate that and use the reinstatement figure as your down payment. But that's a little bit risky. So Subto might be the way to go in those situations. But anyway, so that's what we got for you. What we hope that you will do, and this is where I need your help, is we want you to be part of our movement. We need to get the word out. Just like novation was not heard of a year ago, every investor talks about novations. We need everybody out there talking about installment method, because we want to change the direction of our industry. We want to get it out of the hands of the regulators, get it out of the hands of the real estate commissioners. Let's get it where the transactions are real estate transactions that aren't considered real estate, practice of real estate agency, where it's not considered earning commissions. And let's change the way everybody's doing business so that it will be a better business for all of us. Now, our program that we created, I think, is pretty incredible. When you sign up for the movement, what you're going to get, and I forgot the number because we've been adding a lot of videos as we've beta tested this. And we just kept saying, hey, let's add a video here. But essentially, we have 6 modules. And in these modules, they're videos. And overall, I think we have between 18 and 20 videos. Now, do not worry. Your videos are not 20 or 30 minutes each. You don't have 40 hours of videos to watch. They're usually 5 to 7 minutes. Enough time to truly understand what they're saying. Watch it again if we need to. Take some notes and learn the program. We're going to teach you everything I just talked about today, all of the problems and all the issues we have in our markets. We're going to talk about how the installment method is the solution. We're going to break it down from the time that you meet the seller, how to negotiate with the seller, how to get it under contract, what to do once you get under contract. Then we're going to move into a module where we talk about how now to offload it, our 7 different offloads, walk you through each one of those offloads. Then we get to module 6, which is going to be an incredible module for you. You're going to see the contract, the installment contract. You're going to get your toolbox for every website that we recommend that you be part of, whether it's a CRM, skip tracing, all the tools you need to be an effective wholesaler, now an effective installer. We're going to give you the list of all the attorneys and closing agents or closing companies in your county, your state rather, that it's going to allow you to do transactions with them. We're going to give you the title insurance information. We're going to give you the lender information. So all of that's going to be in that. Module 7, which is being added as we speak, Jordan's adding that right now, is going to be a strategy session. It's going to have 4 different strategies: the quick close, the little to no money involved one, and the wealth building strategies. So you're going to get all of those. And then in our last module, and I give hats off to Andrew Lucas, who's an incredible investor. He's like, hey, I watched it. I got these questions. So we did a frequently asked questions section of like 10 to 15 1-minute videos that answer pretty much every question y'all have been asking today. I know are one of those things that, like one of them, I do this as a realtor. We actually explain why you can in that. So what you're going to get in this system is you're going to get all the videos. You're going to get all the documents you need. You're going to get the list of the closing attorneys that are going to be able to close for you. You're going to be part of a community, because we're going to have a community on that you'll be able to go in the community. You can pitch your deals to other people if you need help on a deal financially. You've got questions about how it works. You can get in there and understand more about how it works. And so you're going to get all of that. The community is really going to be what's going to drive this, because as we build the community, you're going to have more videos that we're going to put in the community. People are going to share experiences of how they worked better with the seller by pitching it this way. Or this was a problem I ran into when I went to refinance. Here's what you need to know. So as the movement continues, we want to build, I hate to keep using this name, but a Pace Morby style community where everybody feels free to go in there and discuss and ask questions. And then the last aspect of this thing, which really makes it beautiful, as you learn and you want to be part of this movement and spread the word. In fact, you can do it today. You can become an affiliate of this program. And as you talk to your other investor friends, your other wholesaler friends, and say, guys, what you're doing is not going to work anymore. That's antiquated. That's almost out of style. We got to do something different. Do this. Every time you get somebody to sign up as an ambassador, you get paid money. You get 10% to begin with. And after you refer 10 people who purchase, then you move to 15%, and eventually you move to 20%. You're making, I think we figured out the other day, if you sold 100, you got 100 wholesaler friends. And think about this, across the country, every one of you know 100. If you got 100 friends to buy this program, you make, I think it was $96,750. Passive income. Now, the real fun income gets this way. After you're an affiliate, become an ambassador. Well, what's an ambassador do? You sign up other affiliates under you. And every time an affiliate signs somebody up, whether it's their first or 100th person they signed up, you make $250. So if you're a real estate agent, say at Keller Williams in Columbia, South Carolina, and you go to family reunion every year out in Vegas, and you've got 200 Keller Williams friends in 50 different states, pitch this to them, get them to become affiliates under you. If they sell 4 or 5 a year times 20, that's 80 times $250 for doing nothing. You made tens of thousands of dollars by having connections at Keller Williams. So a lot of ways to make money. That's what we make this all about. It's about doing it legal, doing it ethically, but by God, making a lot of money. Nobody wants to do anything for free. So that's what we want to do it. Now, one question that somebody asked is, do we have to do it for 90 days? You don't have to do one of these for 90 days. You do it for 30, 60, 90, 120, 180, whatever you want. That's what the beauty of this is. You get with a seller, you figure out with the seller what's good, what works, and you make it work. And, if you find one that, I can flip this in 30 days, I've already, I know if I put this on the market, retail, it'll sell, then do it. Now, problem is, if you don't do it, then you got to go back and then you got to deal with it. Now, all right. Anyway, I've talked a long time about this. I want to answer your questions. Best question today, how much is it? And is there a discount code? All right. I'll tell you this. We're half the price of Pace Morby. That should make you happy right there. The deal to be part of the cost to be part of this movement is $5,000. You're going to get all the videos, all the documents, the list of everything you need to do, and you're going to be part of the community. That's the bottom line. Think of this. You pay the $5,000 now, you sign up as affiliate, you get 7 or 8 people to do it, you pretty much make your money back like that. You'll make your money back on the first deal because you're going to beat every wholesaler. But because I love America, not only the country, but America, the real estate agent, because I think
ex-real estate agent,
incredible real estate investor, entrepreneur, somebody who should be on Shark Tank. Because I love her to death, I'm going to give y'all $1,000 off, 20% discount, $1,000 off for people who are watching this today. your coupon code, this simple, America.
That's
So
pretty easy. You can't
it's pretty
forget
easy.
that.
So all you have to do is go installmentmethod.com, click to sign up. When you go to enter, put your promo code as America, and you'll get $1,000 off. Now that will be until tomorrow evening, so you got about 24 hours to do it. But go ahead and do that. Put that code in there. Save $1,000, $1,000. Now you're going to be kicking yourself if you wait about 2 months and say, well, I'm going to wait and see how it shakes out. And in 2 months, everybody in the industry is talking about the installment method, and that price is not $4,000. It's not $5,000. We start charging Pace Morby type $9,000 or $10,000. So now is the time to get in and let's find out. I want to hear from you once you do it. What did you like? What did you not like? And we're going to help promote you in this, guys. We want you to be successful. We're going to get you to do some social media posts with us. We want you to talk about how this worked for you, how easy it was, and we'll help you spread the message. We'll even, if you want to be an affiliate, we'll even create a landing page for you after you sell a couple. We can create a landing page for you that looks like your website, has your picture or your logos, all your stuff on it. And then you can really start selling the product and making some money. So I know I've taken a lot of your time. I am so excited about this. I'm excited talking about this because I truly believe we have found the answer. We fell ass backwards into it, but we feel like we've got the answer to real estate investing 2023.
You know, my favorite part about the installment method is that everybody wins. Every party involved in the transaction wins. A lot, like you said earlier, a lot of the wholesaling transaction is pretty much sided to just one way rather than being equal, where everybody benefits equally. I really like all the solutions. I really like the way of being completely transparent. By the way, when I was wholesaling, I always did it very clearly, being completely straight up with all the parties involved. I will not hide my profits. I actually had my end buyer always sign a disclosure knowing exactly how much money I was making in a transaction. And I know not every wholesaler does. Actually, I have been the buyer who buys from wholesalers, and I don't realize how much they make until I see the deed recorded on the records. And then I don't like knowing that they lied to me in order to negotiate the way they did. Because they, on the phone when we were negotiating, they told me they had to go back to the owner and whatnot. Dude, it was your decision. You could have just been completely straight up with me and say, hey, I don't want to make less than 50K. And I would have been cool with that. I don't care, as long as the numbers make sense for me as an investor. But this just makes it so smooth for everybody, and that's my favorite part.
When everybody wins, nobody complains.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Jose has a great question. He goes, ones that you're in now for how long? I think that's what I'm getting at. The question is, not usually what we're doing, and the ones that we're doing are 90 days. You can do a 12-month one if you would like to. But the ones that my guys have done, they just did one that was a little bit less than 90 days. So you can do them, you can get in 90 days, and the only money you have put in on this for 90 days is the $1,000 or $500 down payment. And then the rest of it is just whatever you've invested to make the property better to sell it. So you're only tying up $1,000. And I think this is so much better than novations because, as I mentioned earlier, novations is exactly like wholesaling. It's going to be under attack like wholesaling because it's still marketing and advertising property you don't own. This takes care of that.
Well, I think novation is already under attack in some states, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. It is. Absolutely.
Guys, if you have any more questions, this is the time. Ask all the questions that you would like to have answered today, because we have an amazing mind right here with us. So take advantage. Don't miss out. Ask all the questions before we end the live session.
One Facebook user asked, do you have to live in the house for that period of time? You don't have to. It's your investing. It's your investment. So, and a lot of times my guys were telling me that they might buy property that's vacant. So you don't have to worry about somebody living in the house for the 90 days. that makes it just easier for you to do the work. So you don't have to live in it. Nobody has to live in it. In this sense, kind of think about it as a seller type financing. So if you find somebody who wants to live in the house and stay in the house 90 days while you do the renovations, that's up to you. But you can actually do the installment, pay them the down payment and say, get out. If they're willing to leave, then you have a vacant house to do what you want to. But you, as the investor, do not have to live in the house. So that's an excellent question. See if there's anything else. I appreciate the very nice comment. Somebody said this guy's got real skills. I need to go tell my wife that somebody thought I had skills. Yeah, and all right. This is Jose has a great question. That sounds good for you. Don't have to pay hard money, and that seems to be what Pace is saying the industry is going to. Is that in order to wholesale, your only true option, as America mentioned earlier, is going to be the 2 closing transaction, which means you're going to have to bring, if you're buying a $200,000 house and you want to sell it for $250,000, you're going to have to bring $200,000 to the table, close it, buy it, and then try to recoup your money by selling it $250,000. There's not a lot of us in this world that can do that. And those that can do that don't really want to tie up their money. And if they do, they're tying it up on one house. With the installment method, you could go with $5,000 and put 5 houses under the deal, where if you're having to bring hard money, you might be lucky if you do one. And if you can do one, you're probably going to have to go to somebody like Pace and get Gator financing and share half your profit with them. Well, that doesn't sound like a great investment to me. If I got to share my profit under the investment and the installment method with $5,000, I put $1,000 down on 5 houses, and in 90 days, I'm flipping them. All I got now is to get them fixed. And if you got 1 minute, I can tell you this story. One of my investors up in Maryland, I guess y'all probably know about, there's some problems in Baltimore. The downtown is just a mess. And there's a lot of vacant houses. I think she told me 40% of all houses in downtown Baltimore are vacant. So she is going in with a group, and they're buying 10, 20, 30 houses at a time from the housing authorities and other people and investors who have actually bought them. Usually they're buying them from investors and stuff. And they go in, they renovate them, sell them to a rental company, and then they manage it and get the money. So they're getting guaranteed payments on these things. She was having to buy each one of these properties, I think, for like $100,000. So she's like, when we buy 20 properties, we're putting $2 million hard dollars into the transaction. Because of what we talked about with the installment, they're going back now and doing 6-month installment deals and putting down like $10,000 per house instead of putting $2 million hard money in. She's now just putting $200,000 in. And as they finish one house, they sell it, pay it off, and move on to the next one. And so they're not tying up $2 million now, they're tying up $200,000.
And this is why I was saying earlier, this solves more problems than just wholesaling and novation. This is flipping, right? Literally with less money.
Yep. And Dion makes a good, he said he's been trying these he's been doing the method his career too. So he get a lot out of this program. He already understands it and knows how it works. So he can truly get involved in this thing and make this. I mean, I think Dion, you have the absolute opportunity now to be part of this movement. Go in, learn the little details that we've been also using, become an absolute winner in this, and then become an absolute spokesman for it and make a lot of money as an affiliate. So I think Dion's got an excellent opportunity.
Matter of fact, I got a transaction with Dion right now, still in negotiation. And I was supposed to talk to Chris Brown from Blair Cato, his office. And I couldn't today because I just had a very busy day. But we were talking about a transaction of this style, the installment method style, that I'm negotiating with Dion. So yeah, it's a pretty real thing.
Mm-hmm. And then there's one more question. I think I've got most of them here. It says, would every real estate attorney be able to practice the installment method? Yes, they should. We've done an exam. We talked to our title insurance companies, and they ran all kind of reports and everything. And so the installment contract is usable all across the country. Now, again, it goes back to how good is the people you're working with. So if you got lawyers who don't understand it, though I don't know any lawyer who wouldn't really understand a bond for title installment contract, because we've been doing them for years. I mean, it's not like a brand new. That's what's so good about it. We aren't coming up with a brand new concept like novations, which nobody had ever seen. We're using something that was already in the marketplace for almost 30 years. So real estate attorneys should be able to use it. We are, however, providing you with a list of a top title company / real estate lawyer in the area, in the state you're in, that knows how to do it and will 100% do it. One of the strategies we talk about in our videos is not only using these attorneys, vendors, or closing companies for the A to B transaction, but when you sell it to the end user, putting in the contract that they agree to use your closing attorney. Now, why is that important? Because the person you just done the installment contract with knows how to do the payoff. They know how to do the settlement statement. They know how to do the title insurance on everything. And so it makes it very simple. It makes it easier. If they balk at it, maybe offer to cover the cost of their deed. We're making money so we don't have to be so greedy on every single deal. With wholesaling, your numbers get to be crunched so far down because you got to sell it to another investor that you don't have the ability to say, I can cover $295 for your deed. Use my closing attorney. There's all kinds of advantages on stuff like that. I think
this question here.
New question?
Yeah.
You say, do you become the owner of the property or do you become the owner only when you finish? You become the equitable title owner when you sign and record the installment agreement. By becoming an equitable owner of title, you now have the right to market it, sell it, refinance it, do all the things that a typical owner will do. The seller will hold the actual legal paper document deed title until you pay them in full. When you pay them in full, then the deed is transferred to you, and then simultaneously you transfer the deed to the end user. So you are equitable owner from day one. You become equitable and legal title owner when you pay them off. And again, this property might be such a good property in 90 days, you might decide, I don't want to sell this when I got such a sweetheart deal on it and I fixed it up so nice. I'm just going to go ahead and refinance them, pay them off, and go ahead and use it as a rental property or hold it for 6 months. I mean, imagine doing this with a beach property or with a mountain property or lake property. Heck, I might say, I'm going to sit on Lake Murray for 6 months and use this myself, and then I'll flip it in 6 months because I bought this dog property here and I fix it up nice and neat, and I know I could flip it and make 100, but I want to use it during the summer. I'll flip it next summer. There's all kinds of things you can do here. So, yeah, that's how to do it. And, yep, I see the post there again, $1,000 off. Use the code America because America rocks.
I'm pretty excited for everybody that wants to participate and change their life. Like I said, for me, getting creative and do transactions like this was a complete life-changing experience. I work a lot less and I make a lot more money. That is for sure.
Absolutely. One question was, how can we get in touch with you offline? My email is right there. Now, that's my law firm email. We do have, we've got emails, and I'll just be honest with you. I check my work email 24/7. But Gary at installmentmethod.com is our email. But if you need me, email me right here, Gary@blaircato.com. If you got questions, I'll answer the questions through the email for the law firm. Also, just go to the installmentmethod.com. There's a contact us thing. We're getting ready because America suggested it and we're listening to America. We should have a telephone number up there in the next couple of days. We're going to put a telephone number. Like I said, this is something we started working on 4 months ago. We have learned a lot in the last 4 months. Beta tested this with a bunch of really good investors, and America was one of them that we beta tested with. And she's like, you got to get a phone number out there. So there will be a phone number on that website. But in the interim, just reach me at Gary@blaircato.com. You can reach me by email. If you have a question, I think we need to talk more on the phone. I'll probably email you back and say, hey, here's my telephone number. Give me a call. If you need to call me at the office, 803-400-8600, 803-400-8600. Happy to talk with you. And we'll go from there. But we'll have a telephone number up on that website because America did bring a good point there. Let's get a phone number for you. But we do have a contact form you can go on there as well.
Awesome. Gary, you've covered a wealth of knowledge, insights, and a really solid game plan. Before we finish, do you have any final words of wisdom that you would like to share?
I think everybody that's on this podcast or on this live event is on it because we want to do things the right way. We want to make money. We want to feel good about what we do. America feels great about what she does. One of the things I love doing is going up to her office in Greenville and just sitting there and talk and watching her beam with excitement and joy because she loves what she does for a living. I love what I do for a living, but I'm telling you, I've been practicing law for 28 years. Nothing is exciting me today as much as knowing that we have right now in the palm of our hands the platform that could change the investing world. So my piece of advice for you is join our movement. Get the word out. Even if you decide tonight, which I hope you don't, but if you decide tonight, I just don't want to be in real estate investing, pass the word. Pass the word to anybody that you know that's in wholesaling, that's in novating, that's in flipping, and just pass the word because I think together we, y'all and us, we can change how everything is being done today. So let's get together and let's do it together and enjoy it and have fun.
Even agents, I think this can help agents get more listings as well if you work with investors. If you can
Absolutely.
help an investor solve a problem, guess what? That investor will continue giving you more business. So even if you don't feel like investing is for you, then help bring more solutions to your clients, right?
Absolutely.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I am very excited. The algorithm just recently changed. I have not been posting on my Facebook profile all these live streams that I typically do. But please do follow me on Facebook. I will be sharing more content like this moving forward because, again, we got to continue moving where the algorithm is moving. So I just want to say thank you again. I am very grateful for all of you. We never had so many people on Restream that the system actually blocked more people from coming in. So that's pretty exciting. That I
I
know
love
that was
it.
super cool. So that's pretty cool. And follow us on social media. Go to the website, check out the installmentmethod.com and get $1,000 off by using my name as the code until what tomorrow you're giving them
Tomorrow midnight.
$100.
Yeah, tomorrow midnight. It's a little over 26 hours.
Gary, thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
really do
you.
appreciate your time, and I really do appreciate everything that you have done for me personally in my career and all these years. I think it's been 8 years since I've been working with your law
Yep.
firm.
Yep. It has. And I appreciate everything you do for us. And thank you for having me tonight. Thanks, guys, for listening and let me talk passionately about something that I really feel passionate about. So really appreciate you guys. Great questions, great attendance, and look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you, guys. Good night. We love you.